Different people pray in different places. I mean, probably you can pray anywhere, but Christians like to pray in a church, Muslims like to pray in a mosque, and Jewish people pray in a synagogue. Synagogue, house of God, but inside the synagogue there's a place that's particularly holy and particularly special, and that place is called the Ark. What it is, it's really like a big cupboard with doors on the front, but the reason it's special is that inside it, that's where they keep the scrolls that have the holy book on. You unroll them and you can read the holy book, the Torah. The Torah is not just special for Jews, it's special for Christians, because the 5 books that make up the Torah, they're the first 5 books in the Christian Bible, so holy for Christians too. And then the stories in there are the stories of the great prophets Abraham, Elijah, Moses, and those stories are very special to Muslims too. So the Torah is special for everybody, and they keep it inside the Ark, which is this cupboard with the doors on the front. The story I'm going to tell you today is called Challah in the Ark. Challah, I should tell you, is a kind of bread. It's a kind of bread that you might cook so you can eat it on the Sabbath, on the Saturday. Well, I say on the Saturday, but Sabbath starts sundown on Friday and finishes sundown on Saturday. That's important in the story. So the story is called Challah in the Ark. Once there was a very devout woman called Eliana. Devout means she liked to follow her religion very closely, and she had a great belief in God and a great gratitude to God for all the beautiful gifts that he gives us, this world that we live in with the trees and the flowers and the sky, but also for family, for a place to live. Her heart was full of gratitude, and she wanted to show that to God. She would pray and thank God, but sometimes she thought her words didn't speak as loudly as actions might. What could she do to show God how grateful she was for his goodness? She tried to study the Torah, but hers wasn't really a head for studying. Sometimes the words just went round and round and round. That didn't work for her, and she was wondering what she could do. Now, one Sabbath day, on Saturday morning, she was sitting in the synagogue listening to the rabbi teach, and the rabbi told a story about how in the olden days, when there'd been a great temple in Jerusalem, people used to bring bread to the temple to show their thanks to God. There were 12 shelves in the temple, one for each of the 12 tribes of Israel, and people would bring 12 loaves and they'd put a loaf on each shelf. And Eliana thought, bread? I can make bread. So the next week, on Friday morning, she set about kneading the dough to make her challah. She kneaded it for an hour so the bread would be fluffy and light. She added raisins to give it a little sweetness, and some caraway seed to give it a little flavour. And instead of taking 3 strips of bread and plaiting them, she made 7, one for each of the days of the week, and she plaited those up. It looked very beautiful. Then she painted the top with some egg wash, and she put it in the oven to bake, and when it came out it was golden on the top. It was beautiful, and it smelt like heaven. So Eliana took her bread to the synagogue. She waited till there was no one around, because people don't usually just leave bread in synagogues, and she slipped inside. Where could she leave this gift for God? Could she leave it on the floor? No, people walk on the floor with their feet. God doesn't want bread that's been on the floor. Maybe put it on one of the benches. People sit on benches. God doesn't want bread that's been on benches where people put their bottoms, does he? Where's the special place to put the special bread? The Ark. She can open the door and slip it inside. We shouldn't do that. No one's really allowed to open the Ark unless they're going to get the Torah out. But this is a gift for God, and it has to go in the most special place. So she does it. She goes up to the Ark and she opens one of the doors, and slips in her challah, pushes it back, closes the door, leaves the synagogue and walks away. There's another man in this story. His name is Samuel, and Samuel, like Eliana, he's very very profoundly religious. He's very grateful to God for creating the world and making everything that's in it. Unlike Eliana, Samuel is very poor. He's no money at all. And he wants to do something to show God how grateful he is. He'd like to buy a gift, but no money. Not even enough money to put shoes on his children's feet or food in their bellies. He'd like to do something spectacular, but he hasn't got the resources. He says, there's one thing I can do for God. I have a broom, I have a cloth. I can clean the synagogue so that it is ready for the Sabbath. So Friday afternoon he creeps down to the synagogue. He looks around. No one around. Okay, I can do my thanking in private. He slips inside and he starts using his broom to sweep. He sweeps away and uses his cloth to polish the floor till the stones are shining. And while he's doing that, he's thanking God for everything he's given him, but he's also praying to God, God, can you help me? My children are hungry. And I feel like a bad father. I want to care for them in the way they should be cared for. He's just finishing up at the front, near the ark, when he notices something strange. One of the doors is open. Shouldn't be. Usually the rabbi closes the door very, very carefully after he's put the Torah back in. All right, he peeps again. It is slightly open, and there's something inside. He goes, has a peep. There's a loaf of challah inside. That's odd. Maybe this is an answer to my prayers. God has sent this bread for me and my family to eat. That is remarkable. God has answered my prayer in the most practical way. He has given us food. Thanks be to God. So he tidies up his broom and his cloth, and he takes the bread and closes the door very, very carefully and goes away, thanking God for his gift. Next morning, Eliana is sitting in the synagogue. She's feeling a little uncomfortable. Has she done the wrong thing? Should she have put the bread in the ark? Should she have told someone? Should she have spoken to the rabbi? Well, what when they find it? Will there be a fuss? And she prays, God, please help me here. If you can hear me, please just move the bread to the side a little so it's not in the way. And then the rabbi opens the ark. No bread. The bread has gone. God has accepted her gift. He has taken the bread which she gave in all sincerity. He's taken it as a gift. Thanks be to God. Now this goes on for 30 years. On each Friday, Eliana bakes a loaf of challah and places it in the ark. Each Friday, just before sundown, before the Sabbath starts, Samuel comes and he cleans the synagogue, takes challah that he takes as a gift from God, takes it home. This could continue forever. Except one morning, 30 years later, the rabbi is feeling tired. He's been doing the job a long time. He likes to just sit in there and watch the light changing through the stained glass and talk to God as a friend. So he's sitting there, thinking his thoughts. What will he say to the people on the Sabbath? When in creeps a woman with a headscarf on. She walks very directly up to the ark. She opens the door, puts something inside. Lady, stop there, says the rabbi. What are you doing in God's house? Why are you opening the ark? What are you doing? Eliana turns round. Eliana, explain. She said, every Friday I do this. Every Friday I come and I place a loaf of challah. It's a gift for God. So what are you talking about, woman? Why would God eat bread? God doesn't eat. He's God. What are you doing? I mean, you leave that in there. The mice will get it, or the rats. I've been doing it for 30 years, Rabbi. God takes it. It is not there on the Sabbath. And the rabbi thinks there must be some reasonable explanation for this. Maybe a thief has been taking this. She's not a bad woman, but this cannot be allowed. She says, sit with me, Eliana, sit with me. We will see what happens. So they do, they sit. It's only a little while later that the door opens again. In comes Samuel with his broom and his cloth, and he cleans, and while he cleans, he prays to God, thanking him for all his gifts. He doesn't notice the two figures sitting in the shadows. And when he's finished cleaning, He thanks God one more time, and then he opens the ark, takes the bread, There you see it, says the rabbi. You were not feeding God, you were feeding Samuel. Now you have to stop this. In this story up to now, there's not been any miracles. There's not been any wonders. There's been nothing unusual. But now something does happen that's unusual, because it was at that moment exactly that the great Rabbi Luria was passing by, one of the great teachers. Who knows why he was passing by? It must have been an intervention from God. Rabbi Luria walks in. He hears the explanation. And he makes a judgment. He says, Eliana, you must continue to bake the challah. But instead of bringing it here, you must take it to Samuel's house. Give Samuel the challah. Continue to thank God, but also give the bread to Samuel. And Samuel, you must continue to thank God too, but just thank Eliana as well. So they do. And that is how it goes.